let's mute them as like, Randy is the technical guy. I guess we'll go from there. Welcome back, Warriors, for another edition of the R&R Sports Report. I am your host, Robert Hagan. This is Randy. Oh, you're not Randy. Brian Broemmeling filling in for Randy Isbell tonight as Randy is on assignment. He is playing over at Lewiston High School as tonight Lewis Bengals are taking on Lake City, so he'll have the call here shortly on the river on 5.1, and so hopefully we'll keep you here long enough till maybe you go and listen again, but you can stay with us all night. Brian, how you doing?
Good. Glad to fill in for Randy, and congratulations on the 120th episode. I can't believe it's been that many shows already. That's incredible.
120 shows. It's nuts to think about how far. Oh, well, he is listening. I'm surprised you're not here. I thought you were in Lewiston, but he's going to be playing up at Woods Falls tonight. So he is up there covering that game. So good luck to you tonight, and hopefully you drive home safe. You do those guys. But listen, I have to say this, and it's just funny because of the fact when you knocked on the door, it wasn't a knock. Seriously, folks, it was not a knock. It was more like my wife beating on the door when she got a handful of groceries. And you look behind Brian here, and you see Brian on the bed. I don't know who you've been talking to, whether you've been talking with Mert or you or what, but he brought in all of these memorabilia for his stuff. Your Colton, your thing there, Will Clark picture. Talk about some of these plaques back there.
Well, yeah, I got a lot of flack for not having anything in my background the last time I was on the show. And so I dug into the garage and found some stuff that I could put back there. My shrine to Will Clark, my favorite baseball player, and a couple things from high school. I was trying to bling it up a little bit behind me.
That's it. I mean, when I talked a few minutes ago, I've got a T-shirt Trayvon, or a jersey of Trayvon Allen. I need to get that hung up. I got to get my shirt from Ashland, one from Erica Dawn. I've got to get the rest of my stuff up there, so it's kind of fair.
But that's what happens when you see you guys on TV. You see all these. I didn't write a book, so I don't have any books to read because they always see these guys with books in the background and pictures. So this is what I came up with.
Well, we got jam-packed show. Lots of things to cover tonight. Yeah, Randy's not here with us. Hopefully we'll be texting and typing in a little bit as he's doing things up there. We got Super Bowl previews here. We've got local high school with we're getting ready to get into district play. My favorite time of the year. I know yours too. We have LC baseball that happened this last week. We'll talk about LC baseball. I know LC volleyball back in the gym doing work. We got lots of LC sports to cover. Joel Damon, we'll talk about where he finished up this past week, his favorite tournament rolling this week. We'll talk about who he got paired up with for his tea time on Thursday, which will be interesting to see. So we will deal with that. Boy, what else? Oh, I have to say that I did this on purpose tonight because I knew last time I did this, Randy said I need to make sure that I was on the right side, the correct side of the screen. Or when I'm looking at you, it actually looks like I'm looking at you, but I'm bringing some red to that purple side of the screen. So if you like what you see, you're seeing a lot more red tonight. That's a good thing. So we'll get there. So again, lots to get to. So let's just jump in with both feet. We're going to start with some NFL news as we always do. That first hour, we talk a lot of NFL stuff. And first of all, how about the biggest news out there? Lots of stuff going on today. But the big news of Tom Brady retiring after 23 seasons.
Yeah, just the greatest ever to play the position of quarterback. And I think it's real this time. This time he announced it just kind of a over his Twitter, I think, on the phone, and kind of did it pretty quietly. There was no big fanfare or a big press conference or anything. He just kind of did it his own way, and I think that's how he wanted it. So I think this is for real this time. It sounds like he's going to take a year off before he gets into the broadcast booth. But what a career! About this guy's 7 Super Bowls and just the best ever was to play the position. So I think this might be the time.
And for me, I think it's a little bit early. I figured he would have waited a little bit longer, whether or not he's still going to stay in the conversation around Super Bowl time. Wasn't quite the season they were looking at. Just, for me, I think he still wanted his name out there a little bit during this week of or 2 weeks of interaction. So it'll be interesting. We have got some prop bets tonight. We'll talk a little bit about the prop bets. Maybe Tom Brady might be in that. We'll get to that in a little bit. The other part out of this whole story that has intrigued me over the last little bit is both him and Bill Belichick were on the Jim Gray show yesterday. They talked a little bit about that and the fact of how they both were, feeding off each other. Basically one led with the other back and forth. How they didn't get to their career without it.
Mm-hmm.
You think about it. And this is a funny statement, but could Bill Belichick be the one that inducts him into the Hall of Fame in 5 years?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I think the mutual respect they have for each other is second to none, and so that would be my first choice. They were together for so long, and what they went through together, what they built there in New England was probably a dynasty that will never be touched again. And so it's probably the first guy you would think of as the guy that worked together with him, even though they might not have been best of friends, but they both had the same goal in mind, and they did it better than any coach and quarterback did ever in the NFL history. So I could see Bill Belichick definitely being the one that try and send him to Canton.
So the other one that other part of the story that we heard a lot about here this week too is also the idea of Robert Kraft signing Tom Brady. He was all board about him signing a deal to retire as a New England Patriot. Is this a smart move for the NFL and for Tom Brady himself?
I could see Kraft doing that. Yeah, sign him to a one-day contract so he could retire as a Patriot. I mean, that's probably what he'll always be remembered as is a Patriot. He did win a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. But I think I could see him coming back to England where he was drafted and started his career and led them to so many Super Bowl wins and memories. So, yeah, that's a possibility that he would do that. Yeah.
So you can look at that, think about that class in next year. The two biggest things I'm going to ask straight out, both of them first ballot Hall of Famers, definitely with Tom Brady.
Uh-huh.
Does he go with J.J. Watt? Definite first ballot Hall of Famer 5 years from now into Canada.
J.J. Watt. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Defensive Player of the Year multiple times. I believe he was Defensive Rookie of the Year. But no question, I think he's one of the most deserving defensive players to be on the first ballot.
Yeah. Now let's shift a little bit, and we know that he has talked about what he is planning on doing. We know he's already been hired by Fox to start broadcasting games. News came out, I believe, yesterday or day before. They said, he's already decided, nope, I'm not going to start my announcing career until the 2024 season.
Right.
His perfectionist of what he put himself out on the field and what he proved himself, wanting the players played around, be perfect. Is that the idea of what we're going to see from him in 2024 by him taking a year off? Does he hit the books? Does he start watching folks like, you know, Pat Songwell, John Madden, be that color analyst?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how much he puts into his broadcasting career as much work as he put into his playing career. Just don't know. I've never seen him do any broadcasting, so it'll be interesting to see how he does in the booth. But I think he'll work at it. You know, we've seen that Tony Romo got criticism for not doing his homework recently in the last season, and so you'll see if Tom Brady got to that. Maybe he'll realize how much work it is to be in the broadcast booth and how much you need to put into week after week.
So we talk a little bit later about these guys too, but you know, Troy Aikman and Joe Buckley, Fox go to ESPN for Monday Night Football, bumps up Kevin Burkhardt, which I love listening to Kevin Burkhardt, a great analyst. Greg Olsen has surprised me. And for them to be the number one team now, what does that look like in 2024? I mean, do they shift more guys around? You look at Ian Eagle in that group, you look at some of those names. Who do you see Tom Brady being paired up with? Is there a team that stands out? Or do we see another change in things, as I was highly disappointed in the way that Prime did their stuff? Could you see Al Michaels maybe making a move back, maybe him getting signed with Fox, and they have becoming the number one team?
Yeah, I think there'll be some changes made with Brady coming in the year after next. There's always changes, it seems like, in the broadcast world, and so it'd be interesting to see who they pair him with. I'm not sure who they will pair him with, but it might take a while before they find the right combination, and they might. Some guys step into another network, so it just there's a lot of things that can happen in the next 2 seasons, and so I'm sure they'll find something that works for Tom Brady. But there could be a lot of changes by then.
Another big thing that came out this week, not shocked over it, and his name, his worth has went down a little bit, but AJ Green decides to quits after 12 years playing for both Arizona and Cincinnati. Thoughts on AJ Green? I don't think we'll ever see him in the Hall of Fame, but solid.
Oh yeah, definitely solid career, and to last that long, 12 years in the NFL, he was always the top 2 receivers on the team, and so he was always a threat. But a great career, and so it was good to see him go out on his terms. But a great career nonetheless for AJ Green.
Let's talk about other players before we get into some coaches and we see some of the movement that those guys have made. Let's just talk quarterback right now. Let's talk about Derek Carr as John Gruden pulls him from. John Gruden. Oh my Lord, Josh Daniels pulling him, telling him he's not playing the last 2 games in Las Vegas. Basically, his days are done. Today, he was granted the chance to go and visit. He has a visit scheduled tomorrow in New Orleans. Could be a good fit, as Coach Dennis Allen was his head coach when he was a rookie. So, thoughts about Derek Carr maybe making a move down to the Big East?
Right. Yeah. That would probably be a good landing spot for him. I mean, James Winston's still there, right, in New Orleans, and so Taysom Hill. We'll see if he's still around there. But yeah, Derek Carr definitely has a chance to be the starter there right away. So that'd be a great option for him to reunite him with Dennis Allen.
Yeah, I think that it's a big step, but I know you have till, if I remember right, Vegas has until the 15th with all the trade stuff and to go out, whether or not they are stepping into, I believe it's a $40 million guaranteed contract. So look for Vegas to try to do something in the next couple of days. It'll be interesting. Um, if things don't work out as well on this visit, could we see him going to a different team somewhere?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of teams that are in the market for a quarterback, so I'm sure he'll visit as many teams as he can and that are interested in him because he's a starter. He could start right away. So I think he'll look at no less than half a dozen teams.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see possibilities. But if this is a good landing spot for him, especially with the coach he knows, maybe he gets a little bit more involved with offense setups and so forth. It would be interesting. With that being said, as one quarterback going on the way out, another one is being drawn in to Las Vegas. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. Is Aaron Rodgers being baited in there by Devontae Adams with his comments this week? And big shout out to Aaron Rodgers getting his contract with the ability of moving around and all that. But it's going to be a weird fit to see if he goes there or not, whether he's taking Green Bay, whether he retires. So let me throw this out and seeing the comments that Aaron Rodgers made, retirement was not out of the picture yet. So he still said there's a possibility.
Right.
But can you imagine J.J. Watt, Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers all going in the Hall of Fame at the same time?
Oh, yeah.
Could you see that a possibility in Canton?
Oh,
Or do you want, if you were, I don't want to call Aaron Rodgers a greedy person, but could you see him waiting a year to know I'm going to follow? Maybe that gives me one more chance at a ring, but I'm not on the heels of Tom Brady.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, and I don't think he believes he has done yet accomplishing what he wants to accomplish as far as individual and team goals in the NFL. Even if it's not with Green Bay, I think he still feels like he can play. And so, yeah, that's a good point. That I don't know if him and Tom Brady would go in Canton together, and so maybe he would wait another year. But I feel like he thinks he's not done yet. Yeah.
You said it thinks. Today on the Acting Show, he was quoted as, I'm going to read this. It's kind of funny. He was quoted today on Pat McAfee Show that he's going to spend 4 days and nights isolated in complete dark room, basically called a darkness retreat, before making a future decision. Is that it? And he did talk about not doing any of the different things that he got involved with last year, but doing this darkness retreat. Has Aaron Rodgers lost his mind? That's what I want.
We've always seen him as a quirky guy. You never know what's going to come out of his mouth. And so, yeah, he feels like he needs to spend 4 hours in complete darkness, then I wouldn't.
Well, not 4 hours.
4 days.
4 days. I mean, we're talking a long time. We're talking 96 hours. And he was describing it as in a tiny home. And I'm blown away by that thought. But, I agree with you. I think he's got enough gas left in the tank that he can make that big push to move on into the end of his career. I can still see a couple more years, but he's got to find the right surroundings. He's got to find that right person he wants to be with, whether that's back up with Devontae or staying in Green Bay and really working on relationships between that group of guys there towards the end that he was really starting to gel with Watson and not knowing what running back, if all of the running backs will be back in Green Bay.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see. But I think we're both in agreement that he's probably going to stick around for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But who knows? We might be back and might be going here again. Let's talk a couple others. We did know that Frank Wright had signed with Carolina Panthers last week. They do make a move here today, or yesterday. El Giro
Mhm.
will join as the new defensive coordinator from he was in Denver, if I remember right. He's now here with Frank Wright in Carolina, so that's a big pickup with that one. Also, other news today: Minnesota Vikings are going to hire Brian Flores, who has spent the last year or so with Pittsburgh as a linebacker and senior defensive assistant there. I like this by Minnesota signing Flores this DC position.
Yeah, Brian Flores has been a great coach for a long time. He was an interim coach for the Dolphins for a while, and I felt like he deserved the head coaching job actually there when he was there. But good move by Minnesota. Vastly improves their defense right away. I think he's a great coach for them. It'll be a good fit, and I think that'll help them next year.
A couple other big coaching moves that happen. As Brandy and I talked about it, it always happens this way. We discussed this earlier. That I hate saying this. Every time we do the show, within an hour or two after we're done the show, or early morning the next morning, some big news hits. Two of the main ones last time. Marco Ryan is going to leave San Francisco to become the head coach at Houston. I'm sorry, that is a huge. Myself, I don't see that job in Houston being a very appealing job.
Well, that's who he played with, right? He
Right.
was drafted by them, and so maybe I think he feels like that's the team that believed in him when they drafted him, and maybe he feels like he wants to get back to them, and so it's a great opportunity for him at the first head coaching job to see if he can turn around a franchise that's been down for the last few years. Well, maybe that's what D'Amico Ryans is thinking. He wants to get back to the team that first gave him a shot in the NFL as a player.
You're saying that right. I think your career with both the Texans and the Eagles. He was the second round draft pick out of Alabama by the Texans back in 2006. And was named Defensive Rookie of the Year after finishing second in the league with 156 tackles, 126 of which were second most for a rookie in NFL history. So signed a big 6-year deal there. Now, with that being said, probably the biggest coaching news that came out here the other day, Sean Payton is traded to the Denver Broncos from the Saints. The Saints will receive a 2023 first-round pick, which is the 29th pick overall, the 2024 second-round pick, and the Saints' 2024 third-round pick. Lots of picks going that direction for him in this one.
Yeah, that's a good hire by Denver. I mean, there were a lot of teams that were interested in Sean Payton, and you knew he was going to get picked up by somebody. But for Denver to get him, now we'll see how he can improve the team, especially Russell Wilson with the down year, and see what he can bring to the table as far as Russell Wilson is concerned. See if he can turn around his year after the down year this year. So we'll see what Sean Payton can bring to the Broncos, but he's an offensive genius, and so they can't do any worse than they did last season.
Oh, you bring up Russell Wilson and a story that hit the air about 3 o'clock today, and I want your opinion on it. As Sean Payton was quoted today as basically saying that Russell Wilson does not have his special coaches. If he's not, if these coaches are not hired by Sean Payton and the organization, uh, he will not be allowed around Russell Wilson during the season. What do you think about that?
Well, when I found out who it was, I realized why was he even coaching Russell Wilson in the first place. Jake Keeps, he was from the Huskies. I don't know. He was back up for the Seahawks for a while, but I don't know why Jake Keeps was his quarterback coach in the first place, how he got that job. So I'm not surprised by Sean Payton dumping him. So that's just my opinion, but I didn't realize Jake Keeps was his quarterback coach. Maybe that's why he had that year.
Yeah, you never know coming out of this organization. Let's talk football, and it's kind of fun to go back and reminisce and think about some of these guys that have played and coaches that have been traded. Let's talk about some notable ones that have moved teams, and there is a common theme here, and I'm upset. I'm hoping Randy might still be listening. He's probably getting ready to go on the air, but besides this one and what all had went down, some notable trades. Here's one for you. How about Bill Parcells? January 1996, traded from the Patriots to the Jets for 4 draft picks. 1997 third round, the 97 fourth round, the 98 second round, 99 first round, and then he doesn't even last that long as a Jets coach. Smart move, bad move by Bill Parcells.
That was probably a bad move, but he was traded from the Patriots.
Yep.
For 4 draft picks.
4 draft picks.
Yeah. He'll always be remembered as a Giants head coach for me. But yeah, I think that was he got the raw end of the deal there.
Yeah, raw end of the deal would probably be correct on that one. How about Mike Holmgren? We got to talk about Seattle Seahawks here. Traded from the Packers Seahawks in 1999 for a second round pick. And then when Holmgren was hired as the Packers head coach in 92, Green Bay sent the 49ers a second round pick. So big shuffle around with all about trade to get there. Probably the biggest one we will ever see, and probably the biggest one in history has to be Bill Belichick, another Jets to the New England Patriots, where he has found his home. That's where he will retire. The Patriots gave up 3 draft picks for Bill Belichick in this one, 2001, the 5th round, the 2002, 7th round, and then the Jets getting back a couple of picks there. The Patriots get the 21st round, the 4th round, and the 7th round. And then Jets get back a couple of picks there. But biggest trade coaching in NFL history.
I'd say so, yeah. Sorry, Randy. That was probably the beginning of the downfall for the Jets for a couple of decades there when they gave away Bill Belichick. But that's he turned the tide in favor of the Patriots dominating the AFC East for a decade and a half, almost 2 decades. And so, yeah, that might have been the biggest coaching trade in NFL history.
Another big one, Herm Edwards, the rights to negotiate were traded from, guess who again? The Jets go to the Chiefs in 2006 for just a 4th round pick. Not as much capital moving around there.
Yeah.
But another big one that we talked about, we should talk about, happened in January of 06 when Chucky, Mr. John Gruden, left. At that time, I want to say it was Oakland. I think they were back in Oakland in 2006 and ended up going to Tampa Bay for 4 picks. The first, the second in 2002, and then the first in 2004 and the second in 2004. So crazy amount of with a lot of people moving around there. So crazy to see. But we're not done. There's still positions still need to be looked at. Are you surprised with the name? A couple of names that are out there. Steve Wilkes still out there.
It looks like he got hired by the 49ers as the defensive coordinator. And so I was disappointed that the Panthers didn't remove the interim tag uh, at the end of the season. I thought he turned the program, the team around for the second half of the season. They had a chance to win the division, make the playoffs, even though they were 500 at the time. And so I was disappointed that they didn't give him a shot and remove the interim tag. But that's a great hire for him. He's going to lead an already elite defense in San Francisco, and so he's going to drop right into a great position there as the defensive coordinator for the Niners.
A couple of names that still haven't come out, and I know Baltimore's on the short list with this. We talked about it last week, but Eric is still looking to find a spot, but he's more excited to be back in the Super Bowl for the third time in 4 years. So, do you think Eric Bieniemy gets? And Randy and I have talked about it, and I think it's to the point that he does not interview very well. But when do you make a change to a guy, even though he doesn't interview well? Go back and look at his tapes of what he's proven as that guy. I think Eric Bieniemy should be one of those guys that should be talked about. That Baltimore's still looking for an offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
A couple other offensive coordinator jobs are still open, and they have not renewed. They've not hired anybody in Indianapolis yet. Just Saturday. Not sure if he's going to finish that up, but there's still a lot of positions left to happen here in the next probably.
Right, and I think he'll get some more interviews. But yeah, you wonder when Eric Bieniemy's going to get his shot to lead a franchise. But he keeps patting his resume there in the city, and so and he's doing just fine. This is the, I believe, third Super Bowl. So what more can he do? But yeah, maybe it's interviewing problems, but you never know. But you figure he's going to get his shot one season.
He's got it. Someone's got it in that. But lots of news coming out. Just the second day here, media day for the Super Bowl. Quiet about the news happening around down there. I think the biggest news coming out was probably the activation of CEH, Clyde Hilaire out. He's going to be eligible and active for the Super Bowl. But then they put Hartman on the IR. So gain another running back for Kansas City, lose a receiver for Kansas City. It'll be interesting how they play that out. We'll talk a little bit about that here shortly. So let's get into some Super Bowl stuff.
Mm-hmm.
First, let's start with one of the underlying stories from early in the week. And you and I talked before we started the show, and we talked about the idea of kind of a silly story floating around out there. But Philadelphia head coach Nick Sirianni, did not know, coached in Kansas City. And then when Andy Reid came in 2013, he was one of the ones that was let go. Reports talking about how well, Nick Sirianni, how he respected Reid and how he went in there and let those folks go and all that. Is the media blowing this up a little too much?
Oh, yeah, definitely are. But you never know what it's going to do to the team, though, too. Yeah. And so I think Nick Sirianni could make it bigger than it is, too, if the team rallies around him. And so it's something that the media blows out of proportion, definitely. But it is a factor in that Sirianni wanted to prove that he wasn't a good coach at the time, and maybe they shouldn't have let him go. So that you never know what he's going to do as far as bulletin board material.
Right, and that's a big thing. I think they'll really push on it a little bit, but it'll be one of those stories that's it's there. They didn't coach together. So, I mean, you
Mhm.
can't really. It's like, okay, the young man was let go before being a pupil of Andy
Yeah.
Reid. And I think that's where they've kind of taken this story a little bit with that. So it'd be kind of crazy. Don't no other really big stories have come out of Arizona yet today. So
I did hear one though. Brandon Ayuk, the wide receiver slash or wide receiver for the 49ers, said if he was a betting man, he would place all of his money on the Kansas City Chiefs. And I don't know if he's still disappointed in the way the NFC Championship went, or he just felt that the Niners were a better team and they would have beaten the Eagles with a healthy team, or something like that. But I think that's a storyline bigger than the Sirianni and Andy Reid storyline. Is you thinking that the Chiefs are going to run away with this game. And so I don't know if he thinks that the Eagles waltz their way through the playoffs, or did they face any tough teams like they had played the Giants, but and then they played a depleted Niners team without any healthy quarterbacks. And so Ayuk saying that he would put all of his money in the Chiefs is a bigger storyline than the Sirianni Reid storyline.
yeah, so it'll be interesting to see really where the next story comes from. It seems to me, and it's just been very quiet this week. No issues of where, and we'll talk about it in here in a minute. But Patrick Mahomes, with the injury, it'll be
Right.
kind of curious to see where we go with that. All right, so let's have a little bit of fun before we dive into some analysis of some players and such. And let's start. We've got a couple of sets of prop bets. We'll do a couple right now, and then we'll move on and do a couple a little bit later. And we'll give you what Randy's were here, as he's not with us again tonight, on the road in Post Falls, covering Lewiston High School basketball. All right, I'm going to ask you for who has more passing yards, Jalen Hurts or Patrick Mahomes?
I'm going to say Patrick Mahomes. I believe that's who I said.
Yeah. Really
Yeah, I think Patrick Mahomes has a few more weapons, even though A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith will also have big games, I believe. But I just think Mahomes is going to rely more. They're going to rely more on Mahomes as a passer than the Eagles will Jalen Hurts. And so I'll go Mahomes.
I think that is a consensus all the way around. Patrick Mahomes. Uh, we all we all respect Jalen Hurts. I think uh, you are going to have to force Patrick Mahomes to throw the ball this week, and if he wants to be the guy that's all going to be on his arm, it's the mobility. We'll talk a little bit about that here in the late. Who scores first touchdown, sir?
I'm going to say A.J. Brown, wide receiver for the Eagles. Uh, that's just a guess. I don't know, but I have a feeling that A.J. Brown will score the first touchdown of the game.
Um, that is not far off. I think I think Philadelphia has got to jump out quick. They will. Does Jalen Hurts take a big play right off the bat when they get the ball the first time? Could be. I mean, with Brown, with Smith, it'll be interesting. I think one of them. I think we get it down to the line, but I think Miles Sanders. My pick would be Miles Sanders can get that first touchdown. He had a couple big ones during the playoffs. I think he's going to be the one that scores first. Randy is going to take Kansas City Chief, and he's going to take Mr. Travis Kelce. Another good one. Uh, I think Kelsey has to be in the main design of what is happening in this Super Bowl. They've got to design plays, keep him involved on short routes. Yes, let's throw him a 9 route or a deep over route every once in a while. But for this team to be very successful, I think it's good with Patrick Mahomes' ankle. I think they have to keep the ball short, quick passes, keep the pressure off of the leg of Mahomes.
Right.
We, when you get a high ankle sprain, it really hurts not just the ankle itself, but it's the ligaments that go up the leg a little bit.
Yeah.
And you can't plant, you can't, push off hard. So you've got to be somewhat quick on these. And I think that's going to be a big thing with this one. So
I think we can get a dozen targets.
I I see a dozen targets in there. I I know we're going to jump off script for a second, but let's talk a little bit really quick. Do you see it in Kelsey Bowl? Listen, both the boys. First time we'll ever see brother versus brother play against each other. We've had brother versus brother coaching, but neither of the Kelsey boys are on the field at the same time.
Right.
But it's pretty cool to see brother receiving and brother O-line. And I'm not sure if you followed them.
Oh yeah.
They do a podcast. If you've not watched their podcast, it is hilarious to listen to. New Heights, if I'm not mistaken. You can look at that on any of your podcast stations. Also, YouTube. I follow it on YouTube, so it pops up there for me. But those guys are hilarious stuff. But the other day, it was funny that they had to call Gronk the other day that they weren't going to make the Gronk Bowl, the Gronk party, as Rob Gronkowski always has a big party in Super Bowl week, and so be interesting there. But I think they're trying to get a lot of pressure with this. And mom, have you seen the jersey? Mom,
the split jersey.
Has a split jersey made. I guarantee you it's going to be brought up many times in this one, but for that storyline to be huge with the Kelsey boys in this one.
Yep.
All right, last prop bet before we get into some dissections of the offensive and defensive. Who has the most rushing yards in this game?
Well, I didn't realize that Clyde Edwards-Helaire had been activated, but I'll still go with Miles Sanders for the Eagles. He's been the main focus of the running game for the Eagles, but they've relied on the backup. I can't remember his name for the Eagles. He's had a couple good playoff games, but I'll go with Miles Sanders.
Well, there's a couple that you're talking about. You're talking about Gainwell. Kenneth Gainwell. You're also talking about the idea of Austin Scott. Those guys having big games over the last couple. Scott had a touchdown, or Gainwell had 2 touchdowns. Scott had a touchdown. For me, I think this is a show for Jalen Turner. I think it's going to be him showing people up, and I believe Randy thinks the same thing. I think that they design some design runs. They've got to keep Miles. They've got to keep Gainwell both running the ball, but I think Hurts is going to keep that 3-headed monster, and he's going to control the tempo of that. So both Randy and I are going to be Jalen Hurts, and who has the yards rushing. We'll keep these. We'll go back and see who's right, who's wrong, and that will keep things active. So you're listening to the R&R Coach Report live here online, not at the station. We'll talk a little bit of what the show is going to look like over the next couple of weeks. Crazy couple of weeks. You might be filling in for me in the next couple of weeks as playoffs are happening.
Yes.
Things are happening. We will keep you posted on that. All right, so let's dissect a little bit, and we're going to see, and we're going to talk about who has the better offense or defense in the scenarios. Let's break down the Kansas City offense versus the Philadelphia defense. Let's start with the big guys. I love the big guys. It's time to got to look in there, and we want to know who's going to win these battles. First off, we look at this one. You've got the offensive line, Kansas City, some big names in this one. Nothing bigger than Orlando Brown, who has been a force for the last few years. That one. Also, Joe Tinney, Trey Smith, and Andrew Wiley. But then you pair them up against guys like Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, uh, Dominican Sue, Javon Hargrave, Robert Quinn, Joss Sweat. Who do you like in the KC O line taking on Philadelphia D line?
I think you got to go with the Philly D line. Might have a slight advantage in this game just because their relentless nature. They can rotate three of those guys in and out and keep them fresh, and so they'll be pressuring Mahomes all night, I think. And so it'll be interesting to see how the Kansas City O line holds up against this defensive pressure that the Eagles can throw at them every game.
And there are a couple other names on that list. We were talking about Robert Quinn there. We also have Jordan Davis. I didn't even say big name there, and also Milton Williams. Uh, that could easily be one of those names that stick out there. I kind of have to agree with you. As much as I like Brown, I think this defensive line, as much as they are going to stay fresh in this game, will put enough pressure on uh, these offensive linemen to contain and hold that pocket true for Patrick Mahomes. So for me, I got to give it to the Philadelphia defense. I hope Robert is not upset with us making that comment, but it will be interesting. All right, let's look at the specialty guys. Kansas City specialty guys, wide receivers, and running backs against Philly's defensive backs and linebackers. If you look at KC, like we talked about, losing Hartman, to the IR, but you've got Juju Smith-Schuster, you've got Valdez Scantley, you've got Travis Kelce, um, uh, Pacheco, Jared McKinnon, CEH is back for the Kansas City Chiefs in this one. But on the flip side, now you look at that defense because you're White, TJ Edwards, CJ Garner, Darius Slay. But I think the guy that I think is going to be the bigger star at Philadelphia defense is going to be the outside linebacker of Hassan Reddick. Reddick has proven in this playoffs that he can be the disruptor. I think he's the main guy. I'm leaning Philadelphia.
Right. Hassan Reddick coming from Arizona Cardinals. He killed the Seahawks twice this year. And he had an amazing game against the 49ers last week, too. That's going to be a great matchup with the outstanding receiving core of the Chiefs as far as Valdez Scantling, Schuster, Travis Kelce, Isaiah. Yeah, that's going to be the matchup to watch. I can't wait for that matchup.
All right. So that brings us to basically the other one. We look at Patrick Mahomes. Nothing really been very vocal loud about it. Everybody says he's going to be ready. We just talked about high ankle break, what it takes to be there. What does Patrick Mahomes have to do against this Philadelphia defense?
You mentioned it earlier. I think to your point that that's the biggest question of this Super Bowl is the health of both quarterbacks, but especially Patrick Mahomes' leg because he extends plays with his legs and he makes something out of nothing. And so it'll be interesting to see how quick he does get the ball out. As you mentioned earlier, and he's going to look for Kelce right away or CEH out of the backfield. And so that's going to be the biggest question mark going in as soon as they get the ball. How is he on that leg?
And that's the big thing. So that crediting the cornerbacks are going to have pressure, and I think that's the thing. They have to a little bit more press coverage, but it's got to be quick. Like you were saying, he's got to get the ball, get it out, and to not have to move around, scramble to place that foot down. It's going to be interesting to see how the Eagles come out defensively against Patrick Mahomes. You don't have Tyreek Hill this year, but you've got Travis Kelce, and Scantley has been proving himself quite well So I boil down to how healthy is he going to be when we see him in warm-ups, as they have kept him under wraps quite a lot here over the last few days.
Right.
So,
I know the extra detail, but yeah, you just wonder how much work did he get in on the field in these last 2 weeks. It'll be interesting to see. I'm sure he's gotten a lot of around the clock care from the medical staff and the trainers there. So I'm sure he's going to be a lot better than he was 2 weeks ago. But yeah, I just don't know how much practice time he got in, how much actual time on the field he got leading up to the Super Bowl.
and as we just talked about, funny, still getting alerts and all that, and people are still talking the same thing as the post here a second ago. The Eagles are still aware that there is a decent run game for this Kansas City Chiefs with CEH, with McKinnon, and Pacheco. There's nothing to blink an eye at with this ball club.
Yeah, you wonder if they'll use a lot of motion and then hand off the most, maybe jet sweeps or something like that, just to confuse the Eagles, maybe get them going that way. So it'll be interesting to see how much run game they use.
Yeah, it'll be quite interesting. All right, prop bet time number 2. These are some of the funnier ones we're getting into. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. And when I pulled up the first one, you asked me if I got my ticket yet. I'm like, no, I can't afford to go to the Super Bowl. There's no way I can afford to go to the Super Bowl. Those of you who don't know, locally here, Chris Stapleton is coming to Spokane in June, and his tickets go on sale, I believe.
With George Strait, right?
No, I don't think it's with no. So he's been big in the news up here in the Pacific Northwest in our Empire area. So we'll see that. But I was happy to see him get the call for the national anthem. So excited to see that.
Yeah.
Still not impressed with the Super Bowl show. We'll talk about the halftime Super Bowl show. We always do on our week after. And that'll be Randy talking about it, but I'll give my 2 cents on it, what I think about how the halftime show went over. But all right, one here of part 2. Chris Stapleton again doing the national anthem. Over under the national anthem goes over 2 minutes and 5 seconds.
I think Chris will bring his own style and signature to this Star Spangled Banner, but I still think he's going to keep it mostly simple and keep it under 2:05.
Now, those of you that do not know this, when I played the national anthem at football games, or when the pep band is not there, it is right about 1 minute and 45 seconds, somewhere there. So I'm taking a chance. Listen, Chris Stapleton, I saw him a couple of years ago at a concert. He plays a guitar. He gets a little bit of a solo out there and keeps things active and going there. So I'm going to take the over. You agree with Randy. Randy's going to take the under in that one too, so it'll be interesting. All right, the biggest prop bet, always the biggest prop bet. Heads or tails on the call?
I'm going to go tails.
Tails, normally where I go, Randy is taking tails, so I can't be the same as all of us again. So I am taking heads. I'm hoping to win this one, so prove it wrong. Listen, the next one, you kind of laughed about it, and you laughed pretty hard when we were putting into the computer there a minute ago, and you didn't know there was such a thing. What color Gatorade is going to get on the winning coach? I mean, lots of colors come out. Randy is going with yellow this year. The color I picked last year did not happen, so I'm going a little bit different. What color are you taking?
I decided to go because the game is in Arizona. I just thought the Arizona Cardinals is going red. I just go red.
I think you are right on that. I think they do go red. Lots of other colors that they have thrown out there before, blue and green. So make sure you're watching that. That's another set of our prop bets here. with that being said, let's roll into now the opposite side of where we just went. We did Kansas City offense and Philadelphia defense. Let's flip the page. Let's flip the script. Let's talk Philly offense and Kansas City defense. And let's start again with the offensive line and defensive line. I think I've got to give this one to the Kansas City side. You talk about Kansas City defensive line, you've got it. You can't say this thing without seeing Frank Clark or Chris Jones. Those two guys there. George Carl also Brandon Williams, who was a heck of a player um, when he played for Baltimore. I think they're just too strong over some big names in uh, Philadelphia. You look at Philadelphia's offensive line, you've got Landon Dickerson at the guard, Johnson, Isaacs, Mallow, and again, one of the brothers you talk about, Jason Kelsey. I think Kansas City is just going to pressure them a little bit too much. They're going to keep them on their toes, but which is going to lead for me, and that leads into why I made the decision a minute ago of what was going to happen with Jalen Hurts with the rushing yards. I think what's is going to force the pressure from Chris Jones, the pressure that Frank Clark can bring to these guys. They're going to be Jalen might be running and rolling out, but that would be a great thing rolling out. Imagine roll out pass, little 10-yard dump to Smith. I'm going to leave the pressure wise of Kansas City line on this one.
Right. I think this is a fascinating matchup too because we're not sure. We know that Jalen Hurts isn't 100% either, but he'll have the benefit of the extra week off too to recover. But I like the City defense too. I think they're going to come out feeling that they have not been talked about as much either. And there's two players, ex-Seahawks, on the team that I wish they had not got rid of. But Carlos Dunlap is another one that can get to the quarterback too. And so I think this defense is a defense that should be mentioned too, even though they've given up points all season. But I think they have a little chip on their shoulder too that they are not getting as much credit as the Eagles defense too. Willie Gay's questionable, but I do like Clark and Carlos Dunlap to get a lot of pressure on Jalen Hurts. And then on the back end, Jalen Watson, the next Cougar, he'll be playing. So he's come up big too, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him make a big play too in the Super Bowl.
You talked about it there. We haven't jumped to those ones yet, but we're going to. You did said they have given up a lot of points. Kansas City has given up right at 20 points a game. Been pretty efficient defensively in this one. So what they can do to keep Jalen Hurts slowed down is what needs to happen. And like you're saying, though, they've put up some huge numbers all year long. You've said a couple of names in that one. You gotta say Watson, just because Watson is a rookie. I did put Carlos Dunlap, the ex-Bengal, Seattle Seahawk. You also look at Darius Harris, Bolton, Justin Reed. I think Justin Reed might be that silent guy that might take over in this game a little bit more. It will be interesting. But how do you match these guys up going against AJ Brown, going against Devonta Smith, going against? We haven't even said this game, and he's the quieter of the tight ends in this matchup. What about Dallas Goedert?
Yeah.
What about Miles Sanders, Gainwell, and Scott, like we were just talking? It's going to be, I think, a four-headed monster on the run side. But how do you slow down a guy like A.J. Brown or Devonta Smith? And you're going to have to Watson and these guys. But so, with that being said, who do you take in this matchup? Do we go the defensive side, or will we see the offensive explosion
Yeah.
from Philadelphia?
I think it's going to be, well, I'll give you my score later. Yeah, I think this is pretty even as well. And maybe a slight edge to Kansas City just because they're going to come out with a chip on their shoulder. And so they might confuse Philly on offense, maybe come out with their own look or something to try uh, to give the Eagles wide receivers fits. It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I think I give a slight edge to both defenses in this game.
Yeah, it will be interesting. For this one, I think I got it for Philly. The legs of Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders, but the deep three brings to this matchup of who's going to keep him in check all game long. If Jalen Hurts can drop the ball to Smith like he was doing in the last couple games, even the last few games of the regular season, just little short passes to Smith, I think that's going to be a huge thing for this ball club. So I'm going to put the edge to the Philly offense here on this one. Sorry, Robert, if you're listening. I'm beating up on your Kansas City team, but let's look. We did it with Mahomes. What about Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, you just don't know how healthy he is either. I think he's in a better situation than Mahomes as far as how close to 100% he is. Uh, but this is the third down for Patrick Mahomes and first for Jalen Hurts. You just wonder how they'll come out in the bright lights. So I definitely give an advantage to Patrick Mahomes there, but Jalen Hurts proven all season that he's a starter in the NFL and that he deserves a shot. And so he's going to come out and try to prove everybody that he belongs on the stage too. So it'll be. I still don't know who's going to win this game. This is one of the most intriguing Super Bowls that I'm going to watch. So it'll be interesting.
And you said it, and I talked about it before we came on the air, and I had this conversation with students today. I think this is going to be one of the most competitive Super Bowls in a long time. Is we haven't said yet, but now the spread is just 1.5 for the Eagles. So even Vegas is not 100% sure yet of what is going on, because I'm going to look really fast here as see if that has changed yet. But with that being said, as I'm looking at that, I'm going to put you on the spot. I didn't put it in the notes, but we've talked about the offenses against each defense and vice versa. I want you to talk about special teams.
Yeah.
Where do you go with special teams in this one?
That's probably what it'll come down to, right?
It's going to be a big one. So let's look at this. You've got, for the Chiefs, you've got Harrison Butker, and you're running either Justin Watson or Kadarius Toney as punt return, and Pacheco for kick return for the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
Turn your way to look for the Eagles. You've got Jake Elliott, who has been very decent with that all year long. Boston Scott, who has had a couple of huge runbacks for Philadelphia over the season as the kick return guy. And then you got Brittany Covey, who wins the special team side of the ball.
Man, that's about as easy as you can get to. Yeah, it could come down to a guy that wasn't a key coming into the game. But yeah, you might see somebody spring a huge kickoff return that gives one of the teams a spark. But those kickers are money. Yeah, Jake Elliott, and then for the Chiefs, Harrison Butker has been money all season. So This is another one where it's split right down the middle too. So it could come down to a last-second field goal, and both of these kickers have proven that they can make a game-winning field goal. So that's about as even as you can do.
And I think it's going to boil down to that. You and I, we will do this here in a second. Is we look at our predictions for this game. We'll give you Randy's prediction, mine also too. We'll take yours in there. But I think the question mark comes up is, and it's going to be all game long. It's going to boil down to how well quarterbacks play with the injuries they have, and how can they stay 100%. So
Right.
that's what it's boiled down to.
Yeah.
For me, we'll get to our predictions here in just a second. Let's play a couple more comments, and then we'll get into our predictions. We just said it. We just talked about the kickers. Let's put the heat on these kickers right here between Elliott and Butker. Will an extra point or a field goal attempt hit the upright?
No, I'm gonna say no. Got indoor field basically, and nice weather. There's not going to be any issues with the field. These two kickers are both really good. No, neither of them are going to hit the crossbar or the upright.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Unless we hit, maybe it boils down to a 3 point at the very end. We're kicking a 63-yarder. I don't want just Tucker's record. He broke a 65, but we're all in agreement with this one. We don't think that's going to happen. Just the way these two guys have kicked all season. So we're taking no on hitting the upright. All right. Will the chains be used for a measurement over under 1.5 times?
I say one at the most, so I'm going to say under.
They've gotten to the point now that they do a lot of that stuff is all by camera. The officials are talking into your ears about where the ball's placed and all that. We all in agreement on this one. This one's going to be an under one at most, I think. And so, all right. So now this one, I had to tell you what it was. You looked it up. You laughed at it. We had it last year. Randy and I picked it up, and I had to do the same thing. I had to learn what it was. But will there be a scoregami? Now, those that don't know, a scoregami is one of those scores that does not happen very frequently. If you look and have a chance to look at that, Google NFL scoregami, and you see the chances of certain things happening, scores happening. I think it's a big difference with the scores that happen for NFL league is you can't score 5. You can't score. I mean, can't score a single without a 6. You can't. I mean, how rare do you see a 2 unless you're the Seattle Seahawks and Peyton Manning getting the ball well over his head? You get a 3, but everything else, the predicaments that they come in, 8 points with a touchdown and 2-point conversion. So the processes that happen to get there for Scoregami are very difficult. So yes or no, we get one of those scores on the Scoregami.
I'm going to say no this time, but there's just so many different scores that have happened in the NFL history. I don't think there's going to be a rare one this time. Just a hunch. I'm just going to say no.
Now, I think that you and I and all of us chatting with it earlier, I think we all think it's going to be close, and we are kind of in agreement that it's going to be a no on one of those funky ones. So. All right, here we go. Now it's the most important time of this month. We are going to make our predictions. We will post these on our Facebook page. I will post them probably in the next day or so as we look into the future And who wins this one right now? Again, this game is slated to kick off at 3:30 on Sunday Pacific time from Arizona. Kansas City, I believe, is going to be the home team. Philadelphia, or Kansas City, the away team. Philadelphia, the home team. Uh, right now, Philadelphia is favored by just 1.5 points. So uh, that is going to be that one. And the over under is 50.5. I'll ask you here in a second when we predict this. But first off, who wins this ball game? Randy is taking the Philadelphia Eagles. Uh, and you, sir, are on the clock.
Right.
Who are you taking?
Yeah, I still don't know who's going to win this game. I probably won't even give you my loser picks if I'm still in that till Saturday or Friday night. But I don't know why, but I'll go with the Eagles. I just have a feeling that the Eagles are going to win.
All right. So I kind of agree. We're all in that same predicament and the same thought process of how things are going to happen. I just typed the wrong number there, so I got to fix this. Um, with that being said, we just said a second ago that the over under is currently at 50.5, right? And Randy is giving his final score of 31-27. So he would be taking the over and the over under. His is slated for 58 points. You, sir, what do you think?
I'm going to go tight one, go at 28-24. So 52 it'll be slight over.
You have
28-24.
Yeah, going to take 28-24. Again, we talked about it. It's going to be quick. You and I, before we came on the air, we talked about it. All right, who's going to score? And it's going to boil down to your picks here in just a second. I think where we get the scoring pattern coming in, I think Miles Sanders has a couple of touchdowns. I think Jalen Hurts has one. I think one of the receivers gets one for Philadelphia. So I'm going 27-23. I think one of the extra points is missed by Elliott. Not hitting that right. I think he might miss. But I'm going to go 27-23 in this one, which puts me at just the under. So you two are going to take the overs. I will take the unders in that one. And now, the biggest part, who is your MVP?
I will go with wide receiver for the Eagles, A.J. Brown. I think he's going to have a touchdown to begin the game and then a touchdown to steal the victory for the Eagles at the end of towards the end of the fourth quarter. And so I'll go with A.J. Brown.
Last couple ones here. Randy is going to take Jalen Hurts. It has been his year all year. I myself still think he's in that conversation for MVP. We will see on Saturday.
Right.
I still think he has a possibility of winning this, even with not playing a couple weeks with the injury.
Yeah.
When he's in the lineup, he has made a difference in this ball club.
Yeah.
Give me Jalen Hurts. Randy's going to take Jalen Hurts also for Super Bowl MVP. So there are predictions for the game. Again, Randy taking the Eagles scored 31-27 and taking over. Brian is taking also the Eagles 28-24 with the over, and I am taking the Eagles 27-23 just with the under on that one. I think it's going to be a great game. It's going to be an interesting one there. All right, let's get into our last prop bets. We still got to talk Pro Bowl really quick. We got to get into the other sports that was some reporting on that. All right, Super Bowl prop bets. Which commercial plays first, Doritos or M&M's?
I'll go with Doritos.
Randy's going to go with Doritos. I am taking M&M's. This next one, clean sweep, I think. I want to say another one. We don't condone it, but which beer commercial will play first, Heineken or Budweiser?
It's got to be Budweiser.
Listen, growing up, I love waiting for the Budweiser frog commercial, and so I got to go Budweiser. As much as I think that Michelob Ultra might or Miller Lite may have a big commercial in there. Before we jump over that, let's talk. You and I looked at a couple of things. Are you shocked that Pepsi is not a major sponsor this
Yeah,
year?
yeah, that was interesting to find out about that. So, um, not sure what their advertising strategy is, but yeah, that's a big loss for the Super Bowl as a major sponsor in Pepsi.
I,
So,
I know it's not on there. You'll see another Eat Trade Baby commercial.
yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
Love that. When do they make him a little bit older? That's my next thing. When do they make Eat Trade Baby just a little bit older? All right, last one. And we were going to talk about this. We talked a little bit about Tom Brady and him um, becoming a color analyst in 2024. We talked about that a little earlier. Um, how many times does this Fox crew talk about Tom Brady? And the over under right now is 1.5 times. I don't know where Randy got that number, but we're talking about Kevin Burkhardt. We're talking about Greg Olson, Aaron Andrews, Tom Rinaldi, and Mike Pereira. How many times are you taking the over or are you taking the under on how many times the announcing crew says Tom Brady or mentions?
I decided to go under. I think we can have one big tribute, get it out of the way, get it over with, and be done with it. So I decided to go under.
So you're saying one big moment they say
Yeah.
Tom Brady. I'm going to say over. I think they talk about him multiple times. Definitely during the pregame they'll talk about it, but we're talking during the game. So I think Kevin Burkhardt will talk about him. Also, Aaron Andrews does like some Tom Brady, so it'll be interesting to see with that. And Randy, you can see the notes. It's funny looking at Randy's notes about it today. Randy is taking the way over with that one. So not knowing how many times that is, but Randy is getting the over on that one. So all right, that's your Super Bowl. We kind of went a little long on an hour. We got long-winded, but let's talk real quick about the Pro Bowl. I know things changed a little bit. Did you like the new format?
I think it was a lot more appealing to the players. Almost all the players, except for maybe one that I heard was disappointed in it. But as far as competitiveness, I think it was a lot more competitive. Players were engaging and supportive of each other, and it's just more interesting, I think, than the past few years.
Really only have one injury that I know of. Miles Garrett hurt his toe during, I believe it was the gauntlet thing. So let's run down real quick what the events were, the scores, all that. First event was precision passing, and Vegas quarterback Derek Carr jumps out, wins that one, throws 31 points, 4 deep targets, a drone 5-point target, hit the little moving ones a couple of times. Did you see Derek Carr spoke at the Las Vegas?
Yes.
What did you think about his basically taking a stab at the Raiders organization?
Right. Yeah. I think he might have helped his case as far as maybe find another team. He looked really good and proved that he still has the skills to lead a team. So maybe this is what this might turn into, maybe a showcase for your talents as a free agent or something. So I think Derek Carr definitely proved that he belongs as a starter somewhere, and I think maybe Vegas might pay for it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he goes up. We'll see if the Saints can nail him down tomorrow. Let's get through the rest of the Pro Bowl events. The lightning round where they had both head coaches, Manning brothers and Dunk Tank. AFC won that one. It led 6-0. Longest drive. I really liked the drive. It was funny watching some of those guys do that. But Buffalo quarterback Jordan Poyer drive over 320 yards. Crazy to see that one. In dodgeball, I like the format they did. AFC's offense went against their defense, and then the NFC offense and the defense went against each other to see who was playing each other. And it ended up being the NFC offense against the AFC defense, and NFC comes away with a big victory with that one. I think Saquon Barkley was the last one for dodgeball. Flag football, I really thought it was pretty good. I mean, they were going a little harder at it, so they had a center and five guys that could move away from the ball, which was really great. So game one ended up going to the NFC 33-27. Uh, Kick-tack-toe. Kick-tack-toe. That was a big one with that one. Listen, I was more impressed with Morgan Scott, the long snapper, as he was able to snap the ball a few times and hit the target that the punter, neither punter hit the board, and Justin Tucker. So for me, AFC, it was all about Morgan Cox and what he did there, scoring for the AFC. Then they also did the Iron Gauntlet, where the NFC tied things back up, another flag football game. Then they did Move the Chains, which was they were pulling weights off of this wall, and then each of the teams, five guys, were pulling the chains and moving this floating wall really great there. I think that had to be my favorite event out of all of it. Uh, wasn't impressed with the best catches. That was a fan voted on as Amon Ross, Jeremy Brown went up against Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson, and Patrick Hand. And it ended up being St. Brown going off against um, Diggs. For me, it just didn't look like Diggs or St. Brown was doing anything impressive to make a catch in the very end.
Wasn't he cool sitting?
Well, they're taped to get approval for the fans to vote on it. But as far as the others, they were just jumping on that. And there wasn't very much thought. I don't think.
One was a zip line, right?
What's that?
One was a zip line.
That was another. That was another one of the pre ones. As far as you go and watch the ones that they did during the flag football was not impressive at all. I think they could do a little bit better with the best catches. So, and then the final one, whatever the score was at the end of all of those events was the starting score for flag football, game 3. And at that point, the AFC led 21-15. But what can you say? Kirk freaking Cousins comes and helps score 20 points in the last game. And the NFC comes away with a big win, 35-33, as the host of Raiders were in that third game. But Kirk Cousins, I mean, what do you say about that?
You never would think he would be the guy to lead an NFL team, but he is about as competitive as a guy as you can imagine, and somehow he just gets the job done all the time. So now Eli has bragging on for a year.
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. And really quick, that's going to do it for our NFL coverage. We're going to jump right into high school stuff really quick, as still waiting for score update. We have not seen one yet. The Wilson girls, 6-15 on the season, ended up losing to Coeur d'Alene this past week in the opening round, 70-34. They are facing Post Falls in a loser-out game right now, and that is where Randy's at. So here in a few minutes, go join him, listen to that up there. The boys, who have played quite well, lost to Coeur d'Alene, which really hurt Bengals' chances of being the number 2 seed in their districts. They lose to Coeur d'Alene 60-44, but you know this as well as I do. We've called games for Lewiston, we've called games for Clarkson. Coeur d'Alene is just a tough team, and Bengals have to figure something out. They lost both meetings with Coeur d'Alene this year, but they were able to bounce back on Saturday and a big win against Sandpoint, 50-48. But the Bengals have their 50 week going into district for the boys as they're hosting Lake City right now. They are at Lakeland tomorrow, and then they have senior night on Friday night versus Moscow. So it's going to be a huge amount of things going on for the Lewiston Bengals. Make sure you watch the Facebook page. We'll post things with them going on, and hopefully Randy will get us a text here shortly and we can up to date view of how the Blues are going against those balls. Let's turn our attention to the Carson. A couple of big matchups this past weekend. The girls come away with some really big wins, knocking off Rogers 50-12 last week, and which was on. Gotta think about it. Was on Tuesday last week, as I wasn't. We both were gone last Tuesday, and then Bams travel up to Pullman and just totally dominate Pullman with that one. 72-29. The Bams jumped out to a 20-0 lead in that one before Bengals even get on the scoreboard, going to halftime leading 40-16. But what more can you say about the balanced offense of this team? And you've seen a few games. Kendall Wallace, 16 in both games. Alejandra Perez, 13 in both games. Teasley, I believe in one game she had 9. The other game she had 11. 11. We're getting scoring from any one of those girls at any point.
And that's when they're at their best. I think when they distribute the ball and everybody's involved in the offense, I think that's when Clarkson's at their best. But it starts on the defensive end. Their full court press is relentless. They rely on getting turnovers and getting quick, easy buckets, and so that's been their calling card all season, and that's what they're going to need going into the playoffs. I think the Lewiston game, the Golden Throne, was a wake-up call. Maybe they came out a little flat against the Lewiston girls, and maybe that's just what they needed. But come down the stretch here as they enter districts, they're going to need to rely on their defense, and then, as you mentioned, they're going to have to involve everybody to try to get balance. Not just Kendall Wallace, somebody else is going to have to step up too.
And the thing, and we wouldn't even say the names of Joey Miller or Ryan Combs. L11 has done quite well this year as a sophomore. Got a couple of young kids on this team, and so really looking forward to this ball club and what they got going on. They are probably just underway now as they are up in East Valley. That was a switch game time. It was scheduled for 5:30. They are playing right now. They were the late game tonight, so here shortly we'll be flipping that over later on. They are playing up there East Valley right now, and then they'll have their final home game on Friday. This senior night, as it'll happen at the Coop inside Kramer Gym at 5:30. The girls will be taking on the Highlanders at Taylor Park. We will also give away, as the girls have already locked up their district title. We'll have a district championship handoff, and we'll also have the senior night activity. Let's turn our attention, and that said, the girls are 7-0. We'll talk about their brackets in just a second. Boys struggling still a little bit to keep things going. Defeated Rogers, a close one through the first 3 quarters, and then in the fourth quarter, it was a totally different ball club. Outscored the Pirates 17-8 in that last quarter. But impressed with Josh Hoffman doing in the paint. Another double-digit win, point total for him against that one. But then you look at Friday, and it was another game that the Bantams got a little. They were in it for a little bit, and then you could see the frustrations of the number 1 2A division basketball team in Pullman just exploit just about anything you could think of. 2 technical fouls
Mm-hmm.
in that game. Phantoms tried too close, but they committed 19 fouls and put Pullman to the line 26 times. Pullman was able to knock down 22 of 26 shots. Um, but you look at James Brown, who's leading right now in point average for the state of Washington. Unbelievable. Our 29th was Champ Milwaukee, who was big against Phantoms at home a couple weeks ago. He had 14. But Pete Williams and I were talking as we got the call up with Pullman there last week that Champ Milwaukee played quite well, but the guy that impressed us the most was the 6'10 forward, Austin Hunt, who played very quiet at
Yeah.
Cambridge. Came out huge at Pullman.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. He struggled down here, but had a big game, 14 points up in Pullman, as you mentioned, and 6'10" guy. It's tough to move around. So Clarkson's defense struggled containing him. He's just tough to get off the block, and so Hunt is going to be a factor with an already dominant Pullman team. Let's face it, they're just on another level right now. Craig Bratton's got them executing at a high level, and right now they're just a runaway train right now. Them and Linden could meet again in the league championship as they did last year.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting going into that one. Quick score, like we did say, the Phantoms are on the road tonight, and we are in East Valley. Phantoms are not going to get the 500 season as they do fall to the Knights tonight. Score 76-72. They trailed by 10 at halftime. And looking at the stats, thanks Pete Williams sending me the stats here a little ago. Xavier Santana had 27 points in this one, but just couldn't find the extra help to help out. Volacek, Volacek ended up having 26 points tonight for the Knights, along with 10 points coming from Hunter Anderson in this ball game. So, excuse me, Harry had 10 points in that one. So, also for Banner scoring in their game, looks like Carter Steinmont also had 10 points. So, Xavier is not going to be able to do it all. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with these teams. We get ready to, like I said, we'll have senior night on Saturday or Friday. I think we'll start at 5:30 for the girls. We'll have the girls game and the girls trophy presentation. We'll cut the nets down. We'll get them re-netted. Do senior night. We'll just cruise on with that. We look at we'll have District 8 awards next week, so be waiting for those. Let's talk about district play just a little bit with the team. The girls' side of the bracket is pretty well set. We know that the girls, Clarkson girls, will host on Tuesday next week as they will have a bye in the first one. They're going to try to get all of these district games in this week. They'll host at 6 o'clock on Tuesday. So I will not be on the show. We'll probably be ready. We'll figure that out. Let you know what that's going to look like. It's going to be West Valley taking Rogers, the 4-5 matchup, the 3-6 matchup will be Shadle Park taking on the East Valley. The winners will then we will get the loser of, or excuse me, the winner of Rogers West Valley, and then Pullman will get the winner of Shadle or East Valley. So it'll depend what happens. Way things look right now, 7-0 on the district side, so we should be able to win out there and host every game. That will be a game on Tuesday, a game on Thursday, and then hosting a crossover on Saturday. Watch the website. I keep things posted on that. As far as the boys, we just have got the third place locked in, even with the loss tonight. They will host a game on Monday. That will also be a loser out game. So we'll take on the number 16. Lots of things shaking up with this one. Still 2 more games for the other teams involved. Pullman doesn't quite have it wrapped up yet. They've got to knock off West Valley. West Valley could easily beat Pullman. They did play them tough there a few weeks ago. There's this chance that happens. So none of the boys' brackets are set other than Clarkson is at number 3. We will host a game on Monday. So that is your bracket with that. I know we'll get that to you where you can have that for later. Let's look at wrestling really quick. The high school wrestlers. Lewiston lost to Coeur d'Alene 51-36. But great team there. If you have a chance to go watch these guys wrestle here at Close Falls, they are at Close Falls tomorrow. Go watch them. I know they do try to stream stuff on their Facebook page. Make sure you watch some of their wrestlers. They've got a great team. Hoyt Fast, Jace Hendren, Cole Lockhart, Asia McClure, Brendan Thill, and Robert Storm all come away with big wins against Coeur d'Alene. The Bantams in district play this last week, and they have 5 guys that qualify for regionals. We have a couple of alternates in 5th place. They will get to go, and that is 120-pound Clayton Rockwell and then 138-pound Gio Alba. And then the rest of the guys who qualify in 4th place, Braden Jarrett will make the trip at the 220-pound. He finished 4th in districts. 2nd in district is friend of the show, friend of ours, a kid that has Bodie Thieveridge. He wrestled in the 145-pound weight class. He ends up 2nd. And then we end up with 3 champions of district, which is also in the 120-pound weight class. Gabe Visa. In that one, 126, Dawson Bailey. I think he could be the main guy at state. It'll be interesting to see that. And then Braden Flinders comes away with a big win in the 152-pound weight class. So congratulations to Weeza, Bailey, Flinders, and Thieveridge, and Jared making regionals.
Yeah.
It will be, I believe, in Spokane.
Yeah.
So they were able to wrestle. East Valley was the close, but they wrestled at the event center, which was
right.
It was really cool. There are some great pictures. You can go and see those on CHS Wrestling on Facebook page. The coaches try to keep it posted on there. Also, Jamie Thieveridge posted a lot of pictures, so a lot of appearances on that page. So go and check those things out.
Now, it looks like we just got an update from Lewiston. I believe the Lewiston boys knocked off number 1 Lake City 62-57. So we'll have to get an update from Randy on that. But I'm looking at right now. I think Lewiston knocked off the number 1 team in the state.
That would be a great thing to see. So hopefully we'll get a note from Randy here shortly. As Mr. Williams was ever able to give me a good link. I know you've got a different game up there right now, and I think you've got Liberty going on against is it Washington High School?
I don't even know what state this is.
So big one there. Warriors, let's turn our attention really quick. There's a lot of Warrior news happening over here in the last few days. Let's start off with the men's basketball. A couple big wins this last week as they defeated Walla Walla 83-60. They defeated Bushnell 82-69. And then the game I got to go watch over at LC, they ended up losing to Corbin in that one, 68-58. Corbin just pushing the envelope the entire game. Tough game with that one. And so the Warriors now 12-12 on the season, 9-9 in the league. They've got a couple of big games coming up, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. As far as the women's team, clean sweep here as they were able to knock off Walla Walla Tuesday, but Randy was out last Tuesday by a score of 77-50 in that one. And then in the weekend games, the Warriors knock off Bushnell 62-58 in a tightly contested game in that one. And the game on Saturday with Portland, the girls were just way too much for Corbin in that fourth quarter. So it will be quite interesting. They are on the road this next weekend. They will be in Southern Oregon on Friday and Saturday at Oregon Tech. Make sure you go and check out all the Warrior information is at LC Warriors on their Facebook page. Shout out to Randy, he's writing articles covering the tennis team. Also, Alicia, friend of the show, Alicia, she takes care of things, and also the others that are constantly posting pictures and scores and updates from LC. Great, go follow LC Warriors on Facebook. Uh, Can't talk about show without having about uh, track and field and what they are doing. There are lots of things heading going on. Um, we had one of their main people come back and will be running for LC alumni from Soto High School who went to Idaho. Come back. He's now going to be racing for the Warriors. Excited to see that happen. Chloe. Yep. And so shout out to her family is huge supporters of what we do. So congrats to her on her transfer out down. The Warriors were at the Eastern Oregon Invitational. Jenna Carpenter hit her third best mark in the high jump of the NAIA season at 1.67 meters. Can you imagine jumping 1.67 meters? That's almost 6 feet straight up.
She's from Lewiston. Right?
She is a Lewiston graduate, so that's the one thing that Lewiston and Clarkson are breeding these players to stay at home. They want to represent Warriors, so it's great. Come and see them. Also, Madigan Kelly won the 60-meter hurdles, the time of 8.76, and also tied her school record 60-meter dash with a 7.9 and finished third. Sydney Felina hit a 11.63 attempt in the triple jump, more than a half a meter longer than her previous best. Half a meter. I mean, we're looking at 11 meter sticks.
Yep.
That is crazy to jump that much in a triple jump. Just jumping that far is nuts. Both Madigan Kelly and Sydney Selena were named to the Cascade Conference Women's Track and Field Athlete of the Week. They have Whitworth invite on Friday and Saturday. We look at tennis. Swept both Whitworth and College of Idaho at home this past week. 2 meetings with Montana on Friday and Saturday at home. So if you're not doing anything on Friday and Saturday, we're going to go catch some good action and see them. The men also swept Lewis Clark 9-0 and then lost to George Fox 5-2, and then swept William and Jessup 7-0. They also have 2 events coming up this week. They also have Eastern Washington at noon on Friday and Saturday. They have Whitworth at 1 p.m. And then what you and I have been excited about, I'm jealous Tanner, as Tanner was down in Florida covering the games for LC Warrior Baseball back in action for coming away and knocking off the number 14 LSU Shreveport on Thursday last week, 6-0. But then on Friday, they lost to St. Thomas, 11-2. Tough one watching that. How many home runs were getting hit in that one. Also, we'll talk about the home runs in the other one. They did defeat Kaiser, the number 25 team in the nation, and the NAIA 3-2. But then ended up playing the number 1 team. And Southeastern Fire were just dominant at the LCSC this past year at the NAIA tournament. Come away with an 8-3 win. So
all 4 of those teams that they played are regular here.
Yep.
Come May. So it's a good experience for the Warriors. It's awesome that they get to go down to Florida to play these teams. But all 4 of those teams you mentioned are regular here at the World Series here in Lewiston. So it's you can't beat that experience that'll pay off at the end of the season.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. And we even talked about it with tennis. We talked about it with baseball. The Warriors want to play competition.
No.
And that's the big thing, especially with trying to prove things when we get to that time of tournament time. We're going to be ready to go because it's not a auto bid anymore for the Warriors. They have to put themselves in.
Mm-hmm.
Today there was an added-in 7-inning game versus Fort Lauderdale at 10:30, and then they faced RV Warner at 3 p.m. today. So no scores updated yet from that. We'll get those posted. A couple other guys named to the CCC Athlete of the Week, Baseball Players of the Week. Nick Siemens, the outfielder, and Kevin Hope, pitcher of the week in that one. So their next action will be at home versus British Columbia next weekend, a 4-game set, starting things off on February 17th. So uh, also, I want to throw a shout out with this one. Haven't figured out if I'm going to go yet or not. Saturday is tribal nights for the University of Idaho as they are playing Eastern. It'll be a great matchup up there. The girls play at 1 o'clock. Boys play at 3:30. Tickets are not that price, so really thinking about driving up to the Kibby Dome, or not the Kibby Dome, the new activity. And I want to go catch the new activity. So watch that up there on Saturday. Local, make sure you make the trip up. All right, dude. We're racing. We're trying to get there. You and I talked about it a minute ago. Lapway is just looking so dominant now. 55 games in a row.
You're right. Yeah, the boys and the girls teams both looking. I don't see anybody standing in their way as far as getting another state championship trophy to their case. And now you got to start thinking about the boys team threatening that record of Lapway 81 game winning streak. I don't see why they couldn't threaten that streak. Even next year, they're going to bring a lot of players back, especially Case Wynot. And so I think they'll challenge that record, 81 games in a row. So both teams are looking really good right now. They get into their playoffs.
Yeah, I did try to. I don't know if I did. I was trying to at one point for Golden Throne turn around. Sitting behind me was Case Wynot.
Yeah, right below us.
Jeremiah, and I kept having. I kept telling it. I said, Case, you look awful good in red and black. You look awful good in red and black, Case. And about 10 minutes later, I saw him on the other side of the activity center. So I don't think I think he knew I was picking on it. But hats off to Zach and what he's doing with that ball club and that there. So, not to be outdone by the boys. How about the girls? They are playing Kendrick and Deary play at Lapway for the district title there. So we'll be watching for that game coming up. Grangeville knocks out St. Mary's. Kellogg, and they will face Kellogg in the district championship tomorrow at Grangeville. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. Kellogg versus Grangeville. And I believe KORT will have the call on that one. So make sure if you're a local person, you can listen to that KORT radio for that one. Moscow was eliminated from district play with a 53-41 loss to Lakeland. So lots happening. Still haven't seen much of Colton with their basketball stuff.
Girls right now, they are top of their league. They are ranked 6th in the 1B as far as the girls. Excuse me. But they have their district tournament coming up. And so look for them to be in the mix too as far as playoffs coming up. Their RPI is a little bit low. They're still behind 5 teams. But they only lost 1 game. That was the only game to Genesee. So girls are looking to get back to Spokane where they've been for a long time. Just trying to get back there again this year.
Yeah, it's interesting to see where that one takes place and what happens there. Last year, we had a great chance to go up and watch the district play, and the regional play happened to be in the arena. So we were able to catch the game up there for regional that went up with Pete, as we call the BAM game. And we stuck around and watched some of the lower games, lower league games and classifications, and then even watching we watched a 4A game after. Just crazy to see the talent around our area. Randy and I talked about it. Whether it's Golden Girls, whether it is Prairie Girls,
Right.
with Lori Maiden and her club, whether it is the Grangeville Girls, Grangeville Boys down a little bit this year.
Colfax
Girls.
Yeah.
There is a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Get out and watch those local athletes play. That's the biggest thing we can do. Real quick, we'll just hit on the top 25. Purdue still number one, but they lost a lot of votes this week to Houston, who is making a big push as they move up into the second spot. Number two, they're both 22-2 on the season. Bama State at 3, Arizona at 4, Texas at 5. Bulldogs lose a few spots on a tough loss this week. So
St.
now, St. Mary's now they're down to 19-5 on the season and sitting in 16th position. So they're not that dominating favorite this year.
Right, there is no clear-cut favorite as far as the men's side. You just don't know who's going to knock off who. And even last year, or this year, preseason number one, North Carolina has had everybody coming back from last year. They're season number one, and I don't think they're even ranked right now.
It will be a crazy shift in the paradigm with all that going on and such. So, look at the girls' side of the AP now that high school basketball is slowing down. So now it's time to start picking up the college side and get ready for March Madness in just over 2 months. But it's South Carolina. I mean, it has been that way for over a year now. South Carolina now 23-0 on the season. Indiana number 2, LSU number 3, UConn number 4, and Iowa number 5, who make it the top 5 first time this year. Gonzaga, big drop this week as they had a couple. They went 1-1 this week, and they dropped down to 23rd, and they are 22 and 23.
Well, South Carolina picked up a big road win at UConn earlier this past weekend. So South Carolina is solidifying their number one spot, on the women's side of things as far as college basketball.
A few more things that sports that don't get enough airtime, and we follow these guys, Martial Arts America, and what those guys do. Their Conquest in the Cage was this past weekend up in Spokane. A past member, a past local guy, he now fights out of Spokane. Bryce Wyatt comes away with a big win. That one against Anthony Ballard. Then we had Malcolm Joy defeating Dylan Swearingen. And then the two big guys out of Martial Arts America, Dimitri Morales, huge win as he had lost his opponent to Michael Barrett. Broke his great athlete, Michael Barrett. I've watched him fight a couple times now, but ended up breaking his collarbone. So with a week left, they were trying to find a partner, somebody to go against Dimitri. They did get somebody who was just kickboxing, so it was going to be a kickboxing bout. Well, the day before, they were able to find another competitor to actually have an MMA fight. He is able to come away with a big win, does Dimitri in the second round with a chokehold from behind. Unbelievable what he did with that one. And then his second bout, Drake Randall, huge win, making his I think his second fight as a professional level now. He comes away with a huge win in a quick fight with that one. So if you haven't watched these guys, it's crazy. With that being said, Clearwater Combat is back. It is going to happen April 29th at Clearwater River Casino. And guess what, folks? Tickets go on sale this Friday at noon. Make sure you get your tickets. Maybe I can work early. I'll go out and get my tickets before I have to senior night at school. But make sure you get that. And make sure you pick those tickets up because they do sell out quick, and it is great event. Make sure you come out and see it. So I think I even kind of twist your arm.
I'd love to go out and watch that. That's a great atmosphere. I've seen some videos.
Yeah, unbelievable to watch those guys perform and unbelievable athlete. NASCAR kicked things off as the Clash, Busch Light Clash Coliseum happened this past weekend. Congratulations to Martin Truex Jr. He comes away with a win in that one. Austin Dillon second, Kyle Busch third, Alex Bowman fourth, and Kyle Larson fifth. The next race, the granddaddy of them all, and it's the Daytona 500. 2 weeks from Sunday, this past Sunday, they take a week off for Super Bowl. They will be back. So look for that one, Daytona 500 on Sunday the 19th, 11:30 local time here. Start with that one. Sir, I got to get you, we got to start talking about it. Got to get you an AFL team, Australian football. Dude, I'm counting. I'm keeping it on the script. We're down to 38 days. 38 days until matchup Geelong will take on the defending champion Geelong Cats. We'll take on Collingwood Friday. It's like a 1:40 p.m. game, so I'll be recording it and we'll watch it. But, and then Randy's Hawthorn Hawks will be taking on Essendon on Saturday the 18th. That part about that. That's also Bantam Booster auction time. So that's going to be a tough time to get in and watch anything too. So as the Bantam Booster auction is just a few weeks away with that. All right, let's start it really quick. We got 3 minutes left. PGA and Justin Rose finishes after a weather delayed event, shooting 18 under. First win in 4 years. So just crazy. He won the 2019 Farmers Open. Great to see him back into that in the win column.
Yeah, he's been around for a long time. A lot of top 10 finishes, and finally he was able to pull one out here. And what better place than Pebble Beach?
Yeah, and Brendan Todd and Brandon Wu finished second at 1500 in that one. But I think the bigger thing, we talked about Clarkson named Joel Damon last week, was going to make this event as this was his first event back after him and his wife Lona having a baby. And so he does compete. He had a little bit of a rough start on Thursday, come back and shoot well on Friday to get him in the event. Joel ends up finished at 4 under. So, yeah, he was a few strokes back, finished tied for 41st. As our buddy there, Mr. Nick Grubb, hey, finally a good-looking guy on the show besides my bias. Listen, we talked about it. We're showing a lot of red tonight, and the best part was this red is over on the purple side tonight. So Randy's going to have to really purple it up next week with that one. So with that being said, Joel Damon finishes his time 41st, but he gets to play his favorite tournament of the year.
Yes, and my dad's down there. He's a snowbird, and he's going Thursday and Friday. And so I need to tell him to try to find Joel, see if we can get a picture. But what better place to be than Arizona right now? Super Bowl week, Phoenix Open. Yeah, I told him to go straight to the 16th hole so he can watch the craziest hole at golf at the Phoenix Open. So good luck to Joel this week. I hope he does well at his home course.
We were looking at that Thursday. He does tee off at 11:44. Not sure how they are breaking it up because they put 6 guys in the at that time slot. Yeah. I'm not sure who he's gotten paired up with, but at that same time slot, you've got Justin Thomas, Matt Kuchar, Mr. Theegala, Stuart Sink, some big names at that time frame. So make sure you're watching that with that one. So, and man, that was a quick hour.
2 hours.
Two hours talking about football in that one. So with that being said, we'll post stuff about our predictions, our prop bets. We'll post those on our Facebook page here in the next day or so. We'll get those out to you. But as far as next week is, we go into district play. I just talked about this in high school. It is going to be a busy week for me, so I will not be on the show next week. And actually, I will be off the show again the week after, unless we do a different night with that, as I have wrestling going on the 21st. So Randy might be flying solo. He might be pulling you in. He might be back at the station. We'll see how things go over the next couple of weeks. But it is district basketball time. It is Super Bowl weekend. I'm so excited. I'm ready to watch a heck of a game for this one. So
Definitely. Yeah.
Brian, I appreciate you filling in again for Randy. And that's going to do it for another episode 120 of the R&R Sports Report. For Randy Isbell, filling in Mr. Brian Broemmeling, I am Robert Hagan, and we will be back next week. And go Warriors.